who was the ruler of the Roman Empire for almost 2 decades, was also a famous Stoic philosopher, and wrote a book that's still read by millions today. I'm talking about Marcus Aurelius. He was a long-time student of philosophy and wrote the Meditations. This profound work of Stoic philosophy is composed of a series of personal reflections to help guide and refine his philosophical thoughts and beliefs, and to encourage himself into action. In today's video, we'll be going through a summary of Meditations and talking about 5 key themes mentioned in it, utilizing relevant quotes with each idea. So let's begin with the discussion of what philosophy is. In ancient life, philosophy was much more practical than modern times, and is more akin to religion nowadays, as philosophy was expected to guide an individual on how to live his or her life. And Meditations was particularly influenced by the philosophy of Stoicism, which serves as a basis for much of the thoughts expressed in Meditations. Stoicism believed that life was controlled and directed by an all-pervading force termed logos, and that the world was organized in a rational and coherent way. This logos acts on the individual level with our ability to reason, but it also acts on a cosmic level as a rational principle that governs the organization of the universe. So now let's move on to the 5 themes of Meditations. The first one is impermanence and acceptance of change. Marcus frequently reflects on the transient nature of existence. Everything we hold dear, our possessions, relationships, even our own very lives, will eventually pass. However, this isn't a cause for despair, but an invitation to embrace life fully, understanding that nothing is permanent and change is our only constant. Marcus says, not just that every day more of our life is used up and less of it is left, but this too, if we live longer, can we be sure our minds will still be up to understanding the world? In the second quote, Marcus also says, keep in mind how fast things pass by and are gone, those that are now and those to come. Existence flows past us like a river. The what is in constant flux. The why has 1,000 variations. Nothing is stable, not even what's right here. And here Marcus uses the analogy of a rushing river to emphasize that everything is temporary. Our emotions, our struggles, our joys, what upsets us today will soon fade, just as every past difficulty we've overcome is now only a memory. Most of our suffering comes not from the change itself, but from our resistance to it. We mourn the loss of youth, the passing of a loved one, and the fading of past joys, because we mistakenly believe that stability is possible. But everything is in motion, and wishing otherwise is like trying to stop the flow of a river with our hands. So you may be wondering how to implement this in your daily life. Well, let me give you 3 ways in which you can implement it today. Firstly, do not cling to things as if they will last forever, whether it's a success, a failure, or even your possessions. Secondly, take action today, as nothing is guaranteed in life, and you may not have tomorrow to do the things you've delayed. And 3, appreciate the present moment fully, because soon it too will pass. So now let's look at the second theme of the book, focusing on what you can control. One of the most powerful and practical lessons from Meditations is the Stoic principle of control, the idea that we should focus only on what is within our power and let go of everything else. Marcus reminds himself repeatedly that external events, other people's actions, and even the outcomes of our own efforts are beyond our control. What we can control, however, are the thoughts, reactions, and our choices. Marcus says, choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed and you haven't been. And what this powerful quote suggests is that suffering is often a matter of perspective. If we refuse to see ourselves as the victim, then no external event can truly harm us. The mind, when disciplined, has the ability to remain unaffected by insults, misfortune, or hardships. And this idea is echoed by a much more modern psychiatrist, Viktor Frankl, who proposes in his book Man's Search for Meaning that it is often our perception of the events that leads to our suffering. And later on in the book, Marcus goes on to state, if it's in your control, why do you do it? If it's in someone else's control, then who are you blaming? Atoms? The gods? Stupid either way. Blame no one. Set people straight if you can. If not, just repair the damage. And suppose that you can't do that either? Then where does blaming people get you? No, that's a pointless action. And once again, what this passage is emphasizing is to focus on what you can control. And here particularly, he emphasizes that complaining and blaming people about the circumstances or about their actions is a waste of time and energy. Marcus urges us to take responsibility of what we can change and accept what we cannot. This is the dichotomy of control. So how do we implement this idea in our daily lives? Well, firstly, we need to understand which things we can and can't control. So the things we can control are our thoughts, our beliefs, our attitudes, and our decisions and actions. The things that are out of our control are other people's opinions, external events, societal changes, and our health and how long we got to live. So in our working career, we should focus on working hard, putting in extra hours, and always ensuring the highest quality of our work, as these things are under our control. But what we cannot control is whether this effort leads to a promotion or an increased income. In relationships, we can respect others, put in effort, and be there for those we care about. But this cannot guarantee that they will do the same for us or that we will have good relationships. But you might be wondering, how do we know how to act in each situation? Well, this leads to our next idea, virtue as the highest good. For Marcus and for Stoics as a whole, virtue is the only true good. Unlike wealth, power, or pleasure, which are fleeting and dependent on external circumstances, virtue is entirely within our control and is the key to a meaningful life. And virtue, according to the Stoics, consists of 4 cardinal qualities. Firstly, wisdom, the ability to discern what is true and what is false, what is within our control and what is not. Secondly, justice, treating others fairly and acting with integrity. Thirdly, courage, the strength to face difficulties, pain, or fear without losing one's moral compass. And fourthly, self-discipline or temperance, mastering desires and impulses rather than being ruled by them. And in Meditations, Marcus repeatedly reminds himself to prioritize virtue above all else, recognizing that external achievements, money, recognition, even intellectual accomplishments are secondary to becoming a good person. He states, "Nature did not blend things so inextricably that you can't draw your own boundaries. Place your own well-being in your own hands. It is quite possible to be a good man without anyone realizing it. Remember that." He also stated, "You've wandered all over and finally realized that you've never found what you were after, how to live, not in syllogisms, not in money or fame or even indulgence. Nowhere. Then where is it to be found? In doing what human nature requires. How? Well, first through principles, which should govern your intentions and your actions. What principles? Those that have to do with good and evil. That nothing is good except what leads to fairness, self-control, courage, and free will, and nothing is bad except what does the opposite." And this is a powerful realization, that true fulfillment doesn't come from external rewards, but from aligning oneself with virtue and reason. And Marcus sees that the true measure of a successful life is not how much someone accumulates, but how consistently one acts in accordance with wisdom, justice, courage, and self-discipline. And the fourth idea of the book is rationality and the power of the mind. One of the central themes in meditation is the importance of rationality as a defining trait of human beings. Marcus believed that our ability to think logically, reflect deeply, and make reasoned choices is what sets us apart from animals and aligns us with the order of the universe. He says, "You can discard most of that junk that clutters your mind, things that only exist in there, and clear out space for yourself. You can do this by comprehending the scale of the world, or by contemplating infinite time, or by thinking of the speed at which things change." And what Marcus is doing here is emphasizing that we use the bigger picture to help us focus on what is important. And how you can apply this in your own life is by first filtering out all unnecessary worries and distractions. Then control destructive emotions like anger, fear, or envy. Thirdly, see things objectively, rather than being misled by false judgments. And then finally, make decisions that align with your highest values and principles. And then the final theme that we'll talk about from the book is the present moment, the only time we truly have. Marcus repeatedly reminds himself and us that the present moment is all that we ever truly possess. The past is gone, and the future is uncertain. And by fixating on either, we rob ourselves of the only moment where life actually happens, right now. Marcus says, "Time is a river, a violent current of events, glimpsed once and already carried past us, and another one follows and is gone." And this imagery of the rushing river emphasizes just how fleeting life is. Each moment is here for an instant before being swept away forever. If we fail to truly engage with the present, we risk our entire lives slipping by without truly living. And Marcus also states that the present moment is the same for everyone. Its losses are the same for everyone, and it should be clear that a brief instant is all that is ever lost, for you can't lose either the past or the future, because how could you lose that which you don't have? In another passage he also says, "Give yourself a gift, the present moment." And what Marcus is emphasizing in all of these paragraphs is that everyone should focus on the present moment, as this is the only moment that we can control and the only moment we truly have. Overall, I found Meditations to be a profoundly enriching read. What stood out most was how deeply I could relate to the struggles faced by Marcus, and how his thoughts offer a glimpse into the workings of his mind. And through his personal reflections, I gained valuable insights on how to approach life's challenges. Themes like impermanence and embracing change and focusing on the present moment and what we can control deeply resonated with me. These principles aren't just ancient wisdom. They are timeless tools that we can use to live a more peaceful, focused, and purposeful life. And I also found this quite interesting how many of the themes mentioned in this book relate quite closely to the themes mentioned in the ancient Eastern philosophies like Taoism. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, check out a similar video, The Last Days of Socrates by Plato, over here, and I look forward to seeing you in future videos.